Can I get approval for, of the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Creighton. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to approval of the consent agenda, including the following. Approval of City Council meeting minutes of March 3rd, 2025. Approval of the bills and claims. Approval of agreement with SAM LLC to provide mapping services for utility updates in the amount of $24,750. Approval of pay estimate number 10 in the amount of $9,500 to Dean Snyder Construction for Lakeview Room and Band Shell Improvement Project. Approval of pay estimate number 14 in the amount of $3,215.99 to Henkel Construction for the City Hall remodel and security upgrade project. Approval of pay estimate number 11 in the amount of $151,936.59 to Dean Snyder Construction for the Surf District MEIC project. Approval extension of pre-development agreement with Clear Lake Hotel Development LLC from April 1, 2025 to June 1st of 2025. And the following licenses and permits. Liquor license, Class C, retail alcohol license, Gijo's by the Lake. Class C, retail alcohol license, Best Western Holiday Lodge. Those are both renewals. Street closing request. Clear Lake Earth Day activities, Saturday, April 19th, the 5K and 10K race, and Saturday, April 26th, Trash Bash and Community Festival. Clear Lake Walleye Classic, Saturday, May 10th, and Sunday, May 11th. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Beth Ann. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now is the time and place for the citizens' opportunity to address the council that for items that are not on the agenda. In conformance with Iowa law, no action or discussion can occur on items presented during the citizens' forum. Please walk the lectern, state your name, spell your last name, address, and subject of your discussion. And please keep your time to 5 minutes. None appearing. We'll move on to unfinished business, which we have none. On to item 6, new business, Clear Lake Fire Department Township Fire Protection Agreements. Introduction, Jacob Widman, Acting City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Tonight we'll be going over the Clear Lake Township Fire Protection Agreements that we have. These are located in your packet, starting with the first white sheet that you have in there. These are agreements that we've had in place for many, many years here. The last time we renewed them was 10 years ago, and those expire coming up on July 1st here. So I need to re-up these 2080 agreements that we have. Therefore, 6 of the different townships located around Clear Lake. So Clear Lake Township, Grant Township, Lake Township, Lincoln Township, Mount Vernon Township, and Union Township. The new proposed agreements are 5-year agreements. Last time when we did the 10-year agreements, we've had a lot of inflation happen since then, and some of the numbers kind of fell behind a little bit. You'll see that in some of this year's updated agreements. And so we figured doing a 5-year agreement will give us a better chance to look at those on a more consistent basis. So that first white sheet that you have in your packet is just the resolution, Resolution 2511, where we adopt all the 2080 agreements. On the back side of that, it has all of the amounts of the agreements. So starting with fiscal year 26, which begins on July 1st, and running through fiscal year 30. The total received as part of the township fire agreements for fiscal year 26 would be $71,672, and then that goes up to just over $100,000 in fiscal year 31. We calculated those numbers based on a formula that we've used for many years for calculating the amounts that the townships participate in. And That was based on an average fire department budget of $400 and some thousand over the last 4 years. The next sheets in your packet then are just a letter. The pink sheets are for Clear Lake Township, and then we have one for each township. The only changes for each one is the amounts are different. Otherwise, they're the exact same for each one. So we sent this letter out to the townships in February to notify them that we would be looking at redoing the agreements because they were coming up on expiration. So just provide a little bit of background for them, what the new amounts would be. And so gave all the amounts to them. The actual agreements then are on the next pages as you go. So this is per Iowa Code Section 35942. The townships have to provide fire protection, and so we've really appreciated partnering with them over the years to be able to provide that for them. The areas of service are specified in section number 1 there. So of each township, we don't necessarily cover the whole township, and if not, it specifies out the sections that we do cover there. Terms of the agreement will be 5 years. Cost of the agreement is spelled out in section number 5, and then section number 6 is the terms of the payments, which are going to be twice a year, as they have been for a number of years. So unless there's any questions on that, I'll let Doug come up and speak a little bit on it.
Thank you, Council. As Jacob pointed out, we've used a formula over the last 20 years that looks at each area of service, breakdown of the population, the assessed valuation, and the historical number of calls we've responded to in those areas. And as we discussed the calls, this is just for fire protection, so it does not include any ambulance responses. So those calls were filtered out of all those equations. As Jacob pointed out, each township has different areas that we supply coverage to. For example, Mount Vernon Township, we provide 6 sections of coverage. Union Township, 9 sections. Lake, all 36 sections. Grant Township, 9, and Clear Lake Township, 18. So the contract price for each of those townships takes into account the number of sections as well as the assessed valuation. As you drive around Clear Lake on the south side of the lake, you'll notice all the new residential construction, and especially on the lake shore. So that's why their assessed valuation is so high. That's why their contract price has been elevated significantly over the course of that 5-year contract period. Call volume, I've got all those numbers. I can certainly reiterate those for you now if you'd like, or I can email them to you as well. The overall valuation provided by the auditor for our entire fire district is $1,222,000,000. So as we break those down, Clear Lake Township was, their assessed valuation was $224 million. Call volume pretty evenly distributed between the larger townships that we provide coverage for. Population for the entire district was a little over 8,500. Again, all those numbers come from the auditor's office, and they provided those to us shortly after the first year when those numbers were certified. Is there any questions you might have? One township did call me and ask specifically how we came up with the numbers, and he was a newer trustee for Grant Township, and he was appreciative of understanding how those numbers came up. Some of the townships will have discussions with other departments in the area that also provide coverage into those individual townships. We have no control over how other departments come up with their numbers for township protection or the frequency that they change those. The formula we use has come out of the Fire Service Training Bureau at Iowa State, and it's pretty widely recognized throughout the state as an equitable way of coming up with contract pricing. Any other questions or concerns you might have? Okay,
Can't think of anything.
great, thanks.
Thanks, Doug.
You bet.
All right. So now we'll need a motion to approve Resolution 25-11, resolution approving 28E agreements between the City of Clear Lake, Iowa, and the Board of Trustees of Clear Lake, Grant, Lake, Lincoln, Mount Vernon, and Union Townships for the purposes of fire protection and aid and assistance for other emergencies or disasters relating to life and property.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Creighton, seconded by Beth Ann. Any discussion, council? All those in, roll call vote. Creighton,
Yes.
Beth Ann,
yes,
Bennett,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
Mark, yes. Motion passes 5-0. Moving on, annual report from Veterans Memorial Golf Club, review by Jason Floyd, Board President. Welcome.
Good evening. Got a little cold, just like everybody, so bear with me. Again, Jason Floyd, Veterans Memorial Golf Course, Board President, just doing our annual report every year that we do. It's kind of a copy and paste of last year. We've kind of done the same thing, it seems like, every year, and it's been working out really well. So we kind of started off slow last year, if you remember, as far as weather-wise. Didn't get really going until probably the middle of May, and then had some rainfall there. So, but we did end the year about the same as we did in 2023 and 2022. So that was encouraging. I'd like to thank the City of Clear Lake, continues support. I think it's been 13 years now that the foundation and the city have worked together on the golf course, and the partnership's been just truly successful. So appreciate that. Financials. Realized a gross revenue of $512,872.90, which is a record for us, probably due to a little bit of inflation, but I think last year was in the 508,000 range. As you look back, probably 6 or 7 years ago, and Mark might know, that was probably in the $250,000 range. So it's been increasing every year or held stable. So that's also encouraging. Did see a small loss as net income of $4,800, very similar to last year, due to some expenses just stuff that we weren't planning on as far as equipment wise. So we did have to fix some equipment that way. So, but overall, just another great year. Improvements wise, and I also mentioned financially, no long-term debt. So there's no notes or anything out there. Any improvements we've done with the cash that we've had on hand. So improvements wise, #1 tee box, landscaping project, and we added a clock that was donated. It kind of, if you go to upscale golf courses, you're going to see one of those clocks there on the first tee. Now we're in that category, I would say. So kind of neat. But we did dip into our capital improvement fund. Been looking for a chemical sprayer to replace the one we've had. Basically doubled the capacity. Found a sprayer that was new to us, that was down at a country club in Des Moines, that was recommended for us, and we did end up purchasing that. That'll probably be in our fleet for another 15 years. So just something that we took the opportunity to go grab. Rough mower unit, that was the unexpected expense. Just had to get the back end of a rough mower rebuilt, so that was about $10,000. Obviously, we've been cutting down some trees, battling the ash trees year after year, just cutting those down, replacing them with different types of trees. You'll see those. as you're out there. Shelter houses, on number 4, number 7, we re-roofed them in 2023. We power washed them and painted them and logoed them in 2024, which kind of, and also the outdoor bathrooms, we did the same thing. Power washed, painted, did a little bit of refresh there, so. New irrigation legs on number 3, that gets dried out when it gets to be August. Put those in, and also, I didn't put on the report, but we are replacing our POS system as we speak. We just got it in last week and finalized touches. Basically a modern, iPad system that everybody has and that you'll see and actually have tablets and that kind of stuff that we could sell off the beer cart too, our beverage cart, so that kind of thing. So scholarships, did 2 scholarships in 2024 for Clear Lake golfers, boy and a girl, Taylor Plaguey and Megan DeLong. Plan on doing that same thing this year. Just Clear Lake golfers that are involved in junior golf and also on each golf team. So we'll be doing that again this spring. Season pass, same thing, 278 at the end of the year. I think last year was 280 something. So that was a pretty encouraging. And we do a membership drive every year before Christmas. We did increase membership rates this year, pretty good. So if you do pay for 2025 before the end of 2024, you get last year's rates. We do have 106 already prepaid. So that was encouraging. Probably expect to have that 280 season pass holder again. So capital improvement fund, that's probably something we're gonna focus on. We dipped into it this year. Or this past year. This year we want to do that, probably replenish that again. No big projects that we're thinking about this year. We'd like to replenish that in 2025. So there is a budget involved. It's basically, like I said, copy and paste what we do every year, it seems like. Our expenses are fairly close to what we do every year, expecting the same. I would say what puts us over the top as far as budget-wise and be able to do all those improvements is our green fees being in Clear Lake. I mean, that's a big thing when you think about other courses around here. They don't have the tourism. They don't have the people walking up, so it's a huge thing for us, I would say. Staff-wise, Jeremy Amison, running the ground superintendent, same staff, same guys out there, it seems like every year. Mike Loyman, run the clubhouse, same staff, same guys every year, builds consistency, and they both do a tremendous job. So, again, the foundation's a 501c3 tax exempt, been that way since 2012. We basically, if we're gonna show a profit, we're gonna reinvest in the course as part of the agreement with the city. So that's why you see that net income probably try to be right around nothing, so we want to reinvest as much as we can back into the course. So just appreciate the partnership. I know Jeremy sends his guys out sometimes all winter, pick up tree branches, do whatever we can as far as equipment. If we need a favor, always willing to help us out. So, and then obviously Mayor Pro Tem Buedling is he's the city liaison, so he helps us out and kind of keeps us in between the lines there too. So
I don't know about that.
that's all I have. Just basically about the same report we do every year. Pretty good problem to have, I would say. So if you have any questions or comments or concerns, feel
Council.
free.
Just appreciate what the board does and the staff and everything. It's a great course, and so appreciate how you guys have run that.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a great asset for Clear Lake, really.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Thanks.
When does the course open?
So we talked about that today, actually. We're going to try to get through this week, I would say. I would say the next couple of days are going to be tough, and then depending on weather, obviously, we've always tried to. Hopefully, if everything goes right, we want to be open by the end of the month, so. But been trying to keep people off when it gets to be 55 degrees and no snow on the ground. It's pretty tough to keep people off, so. But doing a good job of that, so yeah. Probably the next couple of weeks, so. All right.
All right,
Thanks,
thanks,
guys.
Jason.
You bet.
Appreciate it. All right, moving on, zoning ordinance amendment review. Matt Stedding, city engineer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Hope everybody's having a good night, or good day too. So we will go ahead and get started here. If you want to turn to your gray sheets in the packet. I went through this in some detail when we set the public meeting, but we're just gonna kind of brush over things here quick and then just kind of leave it open for any questions that anybody may have at that time. So what we're looking at doing is making an ordinance amendment to our RS-12 high-density, single-family residential. So what that amendment is specifically for dimensional requirements within that zoning district. And more specifically, it has to do with the minimum lot area, which is now 6,000 square feet. We're looking to amend that to 5,000 square feet. And the minimum lot width is currently 60 feet, and we're looking to amend that to 50 feet minimum. So we have 3 residential zoning districts right now. We have RS5, which is low density. Those are 8,000 square foot lots, 60 feet wide, and they have a 45% building coverage ratio. So what that states is that allows you to build essentially a 3,600 square foot house footprint on that 8,000 square foot lot. Now, if we move over to RS8, which is our medium density, single family residential housing district, that allows a 6,000 square foot lot minimum with a 60-foot wide lot width minimum. It has a 40% building coverage ratio, which allows you to build essentially a 2,400 square foot home on that lot. Now we'll move into RS12, which is what we're talking about here tonight, which also states 6,000 square foot minimum lot width, and also states 60 feet wide. So when we deal with zoning districts, one of the main goals is for those zoning districts to have their own individuality between one another. So right now, the RS8 medium density has the 6,000 square foot lot and the 60-foot lot width, and it allows duplexes on an 8,700 square foot lot within the RS8 medium density. So it specifically calls out a specific lot size for those duplexes. If you move into our RS12 high density, it states the exact same thing for the single family residential as it does for the duplexes. So it lets you build them both on 6,000 square feet, 60 feet wide. It doesn't specifically call out for what size lot for a duplex. It just allows that on the 6,000, and it lays it out as you can have 3,000 square foot per unit of duplex, essentially. So what we're trying to do here is really quite simple. We're just creating that individuality for the district to stand alone in its single family lot size. So the specific 5,000 square feet is going to be specifically for the single family residential lot size, and the 50-foot width is going to be for the single family lot size, which creates that individuality between the RS8 and the RS12. It is largely not going to affect any of the existing high-density areas. This is more specifically geared towards future development in our community. I know if you look back at our joint comprehensive plan that we completed with Saragordo County and Mason City, page 158 goes into how our vision, one of Clear Lake's visions, is to expand the inventory of developable lots, and specifically in that workforce housing sector, creating things more readily available and affordable for younger families in that workforce housing community that wants to live in our town. It's no secret right now that it is very difficult for a young family or workforce housing to live in our amazing town, and I know that everybody would love to be able to move into town here. So by making this to 5,000 square feet and 50-foot width for single family residential, it allows for that it doesn't seem like a lot when you go from a 2,400 square foot home to a 2,000 square foot home footprint, but that 400 square feet is a big deal in the building industry today, and that really does create more affordable housing in that sector. While still not going too dense. I mean, there are a lot of metropolitan areas. I mean, they're down in the 4,000s, 4,500. There's lots of examples of those. So we're not saying that we're going down to that level. This is just creates more flexibility. We are a lake community. We're a tourist town. This kind of capitalizes on the ability to create those type of housing in our community, more affordable. So that's really in a nutshell what this is. It's not a huge change, and this is the first phase of looking at our residential. We're going to be looking at commercial, industrial. We're going through all of our zonings. We started in the residential zoning because that's our largest part of our town, so that's what we started with to start chipping away and just fixing anything that we see that could do for some updates at this point. So that's what we're after here, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions to try to better lay this out.
Yes, thank you, Matt. I have a quick question here, Mayor Pro Tem. So I think I asked you this last time. Do we have any understanding of the historical context for why the current zoning is the way it is and developed that way? You see what I mean? I guess I understand the logic of your argument, and I appreciate the hard work that you've done here, but I guess where I get stopped a bit is the historical context for it, and I think our zoning works quite well the way it is, so maybe you could address that a little bit.
I do not have any specific logic to go back where I can point to you why somebody decided, or why the commission and the council at that time decided to go this route, besides the fact that at that time, I would envision that there was a high need or demand where they wanted to create a higher dense area, and they tried to accomplish that with the duplex route. And they didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the single family side of it, which nowadays, again, the way that the building environment's going, I do think, and I believe there's lots of studies behind it as well, that if a family can have a single family residence, they're going to be much more apt, that's affordable, to go that path than to choose something that is connected to another unit. And if I had to make a guess, and that's all that it is,
Sure.
I would go that path.
So what you're saying is maybe the structure, the change in building types over the years has impacted that
Correct.
potentially?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I appreciate, again, your hard work on it. I understand the logic of it. I think I'm just a little reluctant to change it at this point, but thank you. I appreciate it very much, Matt.
Sure.
Matt, I've got a quick question. Would the setbacks be the same with these smaller lot sizes?
Every single thing is the same within the zoning district. The only changes are to the lot size and the lot width for the single family residential. The setbacks are all the same.
Thank you.
Is this fairly in line with other communities our size?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag across the board, of course, and it depends on which city that you go to. There's a lot that are under, there are some, I wouldn't say that there's a lot over this, and they're high density areas. Where you really run into a difference is certain communities have just an R district, especially when you get into smaller communities. They don't usually have a lot of separate districts. So when you do have all the separate districts, that's why I think it's even more important to continue to create that individuality between those districts so that they're separated. Otherwise, you may as well just have one R district at that point that kind of encompasses everything.
All right. Council, any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
So now we'll open the public hearing. Okay, so need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Bennett, second by Creighton. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay. So now we'll need a motion to approve ordinance number 890, an ordinance amending two official zoning dimensional requirements within high-density, single-family residential zone RS12 of the city of Clear Lake, Iowa, from minimum lot area of 6,000 square feet to minimum lot area of 5,000 square feet, and minimum lot width of 60 feet to minimum lot width of 50 feet. And this would be the first reading. Any discussion, council? Roll call. Beth Ann,
yes,
Bennett,
No.
Dana,
Yes.
Mark, yes. Creighton,
Yes.
motion carries 4-1. All right, moving on, 28E road maintenance agreement with Saragordo County. Mr. Stedding.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem Council. We'll make this one quick. This is simply, we have been working with the Saragordo County to try to get a relationship formed there between our road maintenance. So this is essentially just an agreement outlining basically our routine blading, our routine maintenances that we do on our roadways, any major maintenance, construction, snow and ice removal, bridge inspections. As you know, we're doing the bridge project coming up here, which is gonna be a great collaborative effort between the city and the county. It addresses special maintenance, traffic control and signage, dust control, and really goes through any types of work in the right of way or permitting to go down that road. So it's essentially, like I said, just the road maintenance agreement between us and the county. And it includes a lot of other legal verbiage to go along with it, but I don't think anybody wants to get into that right now. So that's really all that I have for that. And if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
All right, council. Okay. Thanks, Matt. So now I need a motion to approve Resolution 2512, resolution approving 28E road maintenance agreement between the city of Clear Lake, Iowa and Cerro Gordo County. Council, any
so
discussion?
moved,
All right.
Second.
Motion by Beth Ann, seconded by Dana. Roll call. Bennett,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
Mark, yes. Creighton,
Yes.
Beth Ann. Beth Ann.
yes,
All right. And resolution passes 5-0. Chief of Police report.
And council, we got three quick things for you to bring you up to speed. We're watching the storm that's coming in on Wednesday. It looks like we're gonna get another blizzard potentially Tuesday night, all day through Wednesday. So we're watching all that, and we'll address our patrol stuff as needed. Been sharing some information with some city leaders and the fire department, and been sure who we provide services for to get a plan together. So we're prepared for anything that may come towards us on Wednesday. Today's St. Patrick's Day. We'll have some extra officers out today, off and on, doing some traffic enforcement, just with coincidence of a little increased beverages that are drinking today too. So just encourage anybody that's out and about to make sure they have a designated driver. And then last Monday night, Tuesday morning was Charlene Smith's last day with us as our dispatcher. She moving down to Texas to live in Galveston to be a little bit warmer climate too. So we have that position open, and that closes this Friday at 4. And so we've already had several applications turned in, and once those are that position closes, we'll start vetting through those and putting together an interview panel for interviews to fill that spot. Other than that, we've been fully staffed, and nothing else to really report unless you guys have questions on any of those or anything else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public Works.
Good evening, council. What I have for you tonight is, a bid summary for some bids we requested for our cemetery and the columbariums. I think a couple council members were included on some discussions we had regarding this. Our current columbarium is completely full, so it's been very I guess, we've sold a lot of units in the past year and a half, and it's become a much more popular option. So we discussed that and inquired on some bids, and we decided to go forward with trying to get bids on 2 columbarium units to replicate the existing one. So we'll end up with 3 total units, all essentially looking the same. I mean, there might be a little slight variation in the granite from the old one to this one, but it's the closest match that they can come up with at this time. So we requested bids from 2 different companies, or cemetery care companies, Dean Cemetery Care out of Lake Mills, and then Memorial Park out of Mason City. What we were requesting, these units are a 6-high niche. They have a total of 72 spaces in each niche, or in each columbarium. Each niche can essentially have 2 urns in each one, so quite a bit of space there. We also asked for an alternative bid as part of this for 4 granite benches to go along with these units. And these proposals were all inclusive, so they include the foundation, them bringing the crane in, them setting the unit, and them setting the pavers as well. So it's all inclusive, everything together. So like I said, we had 2 bids. Dean Cemetery Care, their unit, or their proposal for the 2 units came in at $157,887. And then Memorial Parks came in at $132,137.00. So, and then for the alternate bid, Dean Cemetery Care didn't have a bid on the chairs or on the benches. Memorial Park had a bid for 4 granite benches, and install was $5,990. After reviewing the bids and a little bit of discussion with Jacob and just knowing cost increases from the last time we did this to also the chances of availability of units like these staying consistent, our recommendation would be to accept the bid proposal for 2 units from Memorial Park for the $132,137.00. And I'd also recommend going forward with the benches. It's a nice addition to those areas. They look very nice. We did have a request for some benches a couple years ago to add to the existing one at least. So I think adding these would be at minimum what we need to do. Once it's all done, we could look to see if there's a space that we need more. But at minimum, I think adding these would be a good thing. So any questions for me on this?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, may I ask a couple questions?
Certainly.
Thank you. Thank you for all this information, Jeremy. First, as a comment, I appreciate trying to come up with a similar style and granite that we have already in existence in the cemetery. So thank you for taking that into consideration. Secondly, on a related topic, do we have our full complement of tents available for families when there are burials? I know there have been some families that have been forced to get them from another source where it's extremely expensive. What is our status on that?
Yeah, so first with the sourcing the one that's exactly the same, or a similar one, that was kind of our discussions with the council. We had some options for a different design, but this is what we went with just to keep the continuity there. As far as a tent, we do have a cemetery tent. I'm not aware of what the cost of Wilbur Vault Company is to set theirs. The last I was aware was that it was very comparable, if not cheaper than ours, what we were spending, or they would have to pay for us to set our tent. And as far as logistics of setting the tent and having the vault company set and all that, logistically it works out better for Wilbur Vault to set their tent. Because their timing and our timing aren't always going to be the same, so that they can get the vault set and then set their tent. Typically, is just a better. Otherwise, if we set our tent, they have to come in and work around it. It kind of creates a little bit of a mess. With that, if there's ever a time that Wilbur or Memorial Park or whoever's doing the funeral doesn't have a tent available, we do still have ours available. So we set ours for all the cremations when there isn't a vault being used. So I guess if there's other concerns, I guess I'd be willing to talk about
Thank
those.
you. That helps a lot. I just know that Wilbur does have a higher rate than we do in the city of Clear Lake now, and I just want to make sure we do have something available for families if they don't want to go the route of Wilbur, especially with cremation.
Yeah, so cremations, we've always used ours, I think, as far as, for pretty much. Yeah, I'd like to know what Wilbur, I guess I'm not exactly sure what they're charging now, but I know a year or so ago when we bought our last tent, they were actually less than what we were charging. So that's kind of why and the last tent we bought two in the past like 5 years because one of them just didn't hold up. So they're expensive and they get put out there in some pretty bad conditions. So with the cost of what we thought Wilbur's was, we kind of thought it was just and the logistics of it was just a better use of our resources and then use ours kind of as a secondary unit. But we can revisit that. That's not a big deal.
Okay. No, that's excellent. That helps me a lot, Jeremy. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank you, Jeremy, as well as Jacob and Jennifer for your input on this. I think you guys have been very proactive, and I appreciate how you've kind of informed us on our needs out there. And so I'll agree with Beth Ann. I think this is a good way to go. It looks like it saves us money, really, going into the future because of...
Yeah. So with the lead time on this too, this is probably going to get split over 2 budget seasons. We'll probably have some expenses before July 1 on ordering. What my understanding was there was a very long lead time on these units to get shipped, so they probably won't get shipped till the fall. But we could probably have a lot of that preliminary work done kind of in between there and kind of split it over two budget seasons here. So we had talked about columbarium and budgeting it all for next year like a while back, and then the amount of units that just kind of continuously sold that we brought it up, we kind of had to accelerate the process a little bit there. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I really appreciate that. I think that was very proactive on our team's part. And yeah, putting it into 2 different budget years helps a great deal as well. So thank you very much to the 3 of you. Appreciate that.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Jeremy, real quick,
Sure.
just to, for the future, just to acknowledge there will be an increase also in the cost of these.
Yeah, we'll have to, once
Don't know
we
yet.
get all the costs associated with it and engraving, all that stuff, we'll have to come up with a new cost structure for these 2. I know when we originally looked at them, when we were buying one, what we are currently charging for a unit wouldn't even cover the cost of the unit. So buying 2, with also going with 2, we got a better price per unit. So like I said, we'll just have to readjust those and look at that again.
Thank you.
Dana, I would say we'd probably look at all of our cemetery rates at the same time because they haven't been increased for like 20 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so we'll need a motion to approve the purchase.
Moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, second by Creighton. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. And that carries. City engineers report. Mayor's report, Chad Schreck, North Iowa Corridor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, appreciate it. Just going back to the zoning thing, I think as a former city code writer in the council of government world, I'm guessing what they were doing, it's always the low man on the totem pole that they let do those fun projects of writing out a whole code. They probably are copy pasting from one section to the next, and they just forgot to update the numbers. Or they just had it, or maybe that a real reason, but that was an interesting way for me to look at it as an old writer. A few things I wanted to just make you guys aware of quick. I know Stacy's not here tonight, but they do have the Clear Lake Quarterly Coffee coming up, at the Chamber Coffee coming up Friday at the Surf, so that's always a great event. Awesome opportunity to hear from people and businesses, what's happening. Our organization has kind of doing a new program ourselves called Corridor Connect. We've done our investor forums quarterly for a long time. We're trying to make it a little geared more towards our business partners, making sure that we are having more of a roundtable discussion. So we're going to do that coming up March 28th. We're actually hosting that at Alliant, their regional office over on 43rd Street in Mason City. So I encourage people to show up to that. That'll be 7:30 to 9. that morning. Should be a good opportunity to discuss some things that Alliant has in the works also. We're going to highlight a few things they're doing with us on the land side in the industrial park. They've got several hundred acres under option now that they're really actively working with us to promote and sell, so excited about that. Our annual meeting is set for June 18th, 11:30 to 1 o'clock. That'll be at the Surf this year. So we're really excited to show that off, as well as all the things happening at the Surf District. Our speaker is actually an economist from Iowa State, so it should be a good opportunity to hear kind of an agricultural and agri-economist, ag business economist. So really good things happening in that front. And we might be setting up some tours, depending on what works for Jacob and the team and everyone at the Surf, but hoping to get things set up to show people what's going on in the MEIC while we're over there too. Or is it just MIC now? MEC?
MEC.
We're just MEC again. Okay.
MEC.
All right, I gotta get my acronyms right. So looking forward to that. And then also, hopefully you received my email last week. We are doing our board strategic planning with the corridor right now. If you have an opportunity to complete that survey we sent out, appreciate that by Wednesday, Thursday at the latest. We will be meeting with the board March 28th and our planning team from the UNI Institute for Decision Making, helping guide that process. But your input's critical to this. We want to make sure that our organization's meeting the city's needs and your expectations and prioritizing the right things going forward. So appreciate your input on that. And as always, I'm open and available anytime if you want to discuss any of that or have any thoughts you'd like to put forward as we go into that process. We're hoping to have that mostly complete by our annual meeting in June to be able to roll out some of the strategies and things that we're focused on for the years ahead. And that's really, we're looking at that as about a 3-year plan. Anything shorter or longer gets, isn't as effective, I don't think, so. On the housing front, we've got a lot of cool things going on. Been working with Jacob and Matt and a few folks here talking about some housing opportunities and where kind of the strategies and plans for the community going ahead. I know we talked a little bit about maybe doing a housing committee kind of thing in Clear Lake and just looking at, just the breadth of everything that's happening. Obviously, we've got some major projects with the Jade Apartments and the South Shore Estates and the Emerald Cove. So we've got some great multifamily things happening. We've talked about a lot about single family, and one of our challenges, that you're trying to address with some of the changes recently on single family affordability, and just looking at all those things and just trying to tie it all together and put together a really cohesive plan. Shelley Oltmans, our VP of Housing and Community Development, is really taking the charge on a lot of these things for us. So I just want to make sure that we have the right plan in place for Clear Lake, and a lot of cool things going on that front. Also do have an opportunity to tour the Jade Apartments coming up. That'll be in April. I think I sent that to Jacob and Matt, but certainly available for you guys as well, as if you'd want to take part in that. We can get the date and everything to you guys on that front too. But coming along incredibly well. I've talked to Chris Terry a few times recently, and they're ecstatic about the reception and just how far along they're in that process. Still shooting a June opening as far as that goes. So things coming along real nice there. Also, we had applied for community project funding through Ashley Henson's office. Last year, if you recall, that was a $2.5 million request we put in through the county, again, to assist with the HDC, or the Housing Development Corporation activities. That did not get into this most recent continuing resolution, but they want to continue pushing for it, so we're going to be resubmitting some information to them, and Ashley's team is hoping to get that, Congresswoman Henson's team is hoping to get that moved forward in an upcoming bill. So again, just could be a really critical thing to our rehabilitation efforts and new housing developments, maybe getting lots prepared for development in the future. So a lot of opportunity in that as well. Finally, legislatively, a few things going on down at the State House. If you might have heard of the property tax situation. Big bill has been put forward on that. That would be a dramatic change in a lot of ways. So we're watching that very closely. I'm sure you guys have seen, hopefully you got a copy of what the Iowa League of Cities put out. They did put out a pretty comprehensive thing for that. If not, I can forward that on to you. Our friends at the PDI, Professional Developers of Iowa, Iowa Chamber Alliance, have been working on this very closely as well. So actually a lot of things in there that are pretty good, and then a lot of things that you kind of wonder about, and people are trying to figure out exactly what the impacts will be. The 2% cap on growth is one area of concern, of course, because you guys have more than 2% expenses some years. So there's a lot of things that are being watched on that front. We'll continue to monitor that and should be talking with Representative Bloomingdale here in the next week or two as well, sharing some thoughts on that. Economic Development, IEDA put forward a new incentives bill that really changes the entire incentive structure in Iowa. Several positive changes on that as they're moving more towards incentivizing investment and growth over just job-based incentives. As you guys know, we've got a lot of jobs available in our communities right now, and not a lot of people to fill them. So I think it's an important shift to recognize that. Among other things, they are putting more money into housing, which again, we are very supportive of. There are a few things that people are concerned about. They are looking to get rid of the Endow Iowa program, which encourages a lot of investment and philanthropy. So there's some things that are being discussed right now as far as that bill goes. And then also some things with housing TIFs that would be very helpful for us as well to loosen up the restrictions on that, make it easier to use for communities. So we're also supporting that. But I can close out there unless there's any questions for me.
Questions? All right. Thanks,
Thanks,
Chad.
guys.
City Administrator's Report.
Okay, first item underneath my report is a proposal for audit services from our current auditors, Bonsack and Frommelt. So this is the white sheets at the end of your packet here. They've been our auditors here for a number of years, and our current agreement expired with the last fiscal year, so fiscal year 24. So just looking at doing a new agreement with them for another 5 years to have them continue on doing our audit. So it towards the middle of the page there, it has the amounts for each audit year. So for fiscal year 25, the total for the financials and gas audit would be $32,500 with a federal single audit amount of $4,000. For fiscal year 24, for a comparison, it was $31,500, so only a $1,000 increase. And for the single audit, it was $3,500, so a $500 increase on the single audit. And to note on the single audit, historically we haven't had a lot of those. That's if you receive, well, it has been 750 or more of federal dollars. That's actually going up to $1 million or more of federal dollars in a single fiscal year. So most years we probably won't have a single audit. We look at that every year when we do the audit. So just pretty happy with their proposal, and we've been really happy with their audit services. So we recommend continuing on with them for another 5 years.
All right, we do need a motion to accept that proposal.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Creighton and second by Dana. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. And Fourth Avenue corridor.
Yep, and so I just want to give a quick update on the Fourth Avenue corridor. You remember we got that RAISE grant for that. The RAISE grant actually, it's a planning grant, and the original expiration date on that was actually the end of March here. But things had kind of got delayed at the beginning of the process, and so when we brought SEH on board, their contract was through the end of November. So we just had to line some stuff up with the DOT and the grant that we got. And so we did get everything submitted back, I believe it was in January, for doing the extension. And the DOT did tell us a couple weeks ago that it looked like that. We haven't actually seen the signed extension yet, but they said everything was fine for it and it should be good to go on that to give us till the end of November to finish that process. And then an update on that. We are holding another meeting. We have a committee that's kind of going through that, and that next committee meeting will be on April 7th. So.
All right, thanks, Jacob. So now we're going to go into closed session pursuant to section 21.5G of the Code of Iowa to discuss purchase of real estate. Okay, get a motion.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Dana, seconded by Creighton. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.